All right, the 2023 Dynasty rookie class is completely stacked from top to bottom. So we're going to take you through, we're going to rank our top 13 prospects and tiers today. Before we start, though, this video, again, sponsored by nobody. So because we're not wasting your time with ads, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate it. We're going to try to get you the best content we can as we get into the Dynasty season, and that is the off season. So hit the subscribe button for us. Let's get into these rookies. It's a deep class, lots of firepower. It's going to be very interesting seeing these picks dealt this offseason too, and then how these picks end up falling out post NFL draft, and even seeing some teams take some of these guys pre NFL draft. So let's get into it right now. We're going to start at the top with Bijan Robinson in the S tier. Now, we need to clarify something on Bijan Robinson, because we came out last week with a video that basically made the argument that you shouldn't be taking Bijan in startup drafts over any of the proven elite quarterbacks that are with NFL teams.
Wait, over who?
Drafts.
Yeah, startup drafts. Not rookie drafts. Again, Bijan.
Startup.
So to clarify, because I mean, we made this very clear in the video, but we have some knuckleheads that watch our videos. Bijan is absolutely the 101 in rookie drafts. There's not really a good argument to be made, you know, with the draft capital that Bijan's going to get, with the level of prospect that Bijan is. You know, rookie quarterbacks are also very hit and miss. There is no good argument to take any of these rookie quarterbacks, even in a super flex league, as much as it tempts me. Bijan is the 101 in rookie drafts. There really is no question about that. The last video was more geared towards startup drafts and who he's going over with proven quarterbacks, not rookie quarterbacks. Bijan should be going over all of these rookie quarterbacks, because Bryce Young is going to go at the 101, and that's not going to start our next tier here. So the A tier,
101 of the NFL draft.
Yes. Yeah, Bijan's the 101 in the Dynasty rookie draft.
Yes.
But in this next year, you've got, you know, Bryce Young. I mean, obviously he's going to be the 101 out of Alabama. I mean, tell me what you like about Bryce Young and what makes him special for this class.
Bryce Young is good. He's being his thing that people have on him right now. Yeah, really good analysis right there. The thing people have with him right now is that he's undersized, and they're saying, oh, you know, maybe he's Kyler Murray, maybe he's Russell Wilson. I think Bryce Young is like nothing we've ever seen before in the NFL. Maybe. He's not Kyler Murray, and he's not Russell Wilson. He's not someone who's, I don't know. He has a cannon for an arm.
Yep.
Which is like really surprising, considering that
throws over the middle more than Russ does.
Yeah, he throws over the middle more than Russ. He probably has the second best arm in this class behind Levis.
Yep.
And what he's done this year with like an underwhelming Alabama wide receiver core has been really impressive. I love the way he dissects NFL defenses. He's very quick to take his checkdowns when, you know, he'll get through his first, second read and maybe sometimes even his third, but he knows when to snap to that checkdown, and that's something we like to see. He's not going to pull any Carson Wentz plays out of his belt. I really like him. He's good. He's super intelligent, and you can tell he can tell what a defense is doing, and he knows how to dissect it.
Yeah, it's been a hot minute since I've seen a quarterback like Bryce Young process in the pocket like he does at such a high level and so quickly. When he's under pressure, man, there is just such a sense of calm that I see in him and his play. And, you know, the size thing, sure. If you want to be concerned about one thing with Bryce Young and his size, sure. You can be concerned about a lot of things for any rookie quarterback coming into the league. That's
sure,
you know, why they're toss-ups. But with him, you know, he's not, with his size, they're not going to be running him. They're not going to be, he's not going to be operating in a six-back offense. He will be a pocket passer. He will be a high-level processor, and that's what we love about him.
That is not to say he's not elusive, though, because he is extremely elusive in the pocket.
Mobility is different than having rushing upside.
Yeah,
and
great pocket presence,
does have that.
Great intangibles. Going to have great draft capital, not a lot to dislike. CJ Stroud, he's got incredible arm talent. I love his ball placement. I love his accuracy. He played, obviously, with some great talent at Ohio State, but playing in very good competition in the Big Ten as well. He's going to get the draft capital to do it. With CJ Stroud, you know, I think there are some things that he's going to have to work on. I think that's why he slipped out of the 101. That said, I'm hoping that he's relatively raw and that, you know, he works his way to being an elite NFL quarterback, and I really hope he ends up on the Colts, but that's just me. Staying in this tier, we've got Jahmyr Gibbs and JSN. So tell me about these two guys. You know, starting with Gibbs, we did a video on him. Make sure you're looking for that here. But with Gibbs, you know, it's hard not to put him in this tier just based on, you know, number one, his college production, but number two, the draft capital that he's projected to get right now. So
yeah, he's projected late first-round capital, and when there's a running back who's being selected with a team's first pick, not their second pick. It's not early second. This is his first pick, so they want this to be a franchise-altering player. You know, that's going to be huge, especially in Dynasty, and that is why at this point we still have him over these guys like JSN, Jordan Addison, Quentin Johnston, these other receivers who have really high upside as well. We really believe in this guy.
Yeah, and then tell us about JSN, a guy that we have right here.
Yeah, JSN is one of those guys, along with Addison and Johnston, who we'll have in the next tier here. But they're those receivers that obviously they're going to have. We expect to have a longer shelf life than your Bijan or your Jahmyr Gibbs. But again, landing spot is going to be key. They will all most likely have that high-end draft capital. What we care about is the fantasy upside, the fantasy ceiling, the week-to-week production that they're going to have, and that is all dependent on landing spot. Jackson Smith-Njigba has been faded of recent because he's been injured for most of the season, and he kind of just hung it up and wanted to play it safe and isn't going to be – he's not playing in the CFP, is he?
No.
Yeah.
He's done.
Yeah, he's as he should be.
And he's still good, by the way. He didn't forget how to play football.
Oh, my God. He's so good.
It is crazy to say that JSN is already a buy.
Yeah, he's a wide receiver one. He's a buy. Yeah.
I was watching through his film just this week, and I sent them a clip. You know, I was watching just his release at the line. He has the ability to freeze people right off the bat. And, you know, people are talking about, you know, he's not an insane athlete, and maybe that we'll be worried about him at the combine. But he doesn't necessarily need that because he's so smooth in his route running and he's so quick and snappy at the same time that he literally just froze this guy off the line. He did a quick like double tap with his feet and he just froze him, and that's how he beats people, with how smart and how elusive he is.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
Keep betting on these Ohio State receivers, man.
Yeah. Moving down into the next tier, we've got Jordan Addison first. Give us the breakdown on Addison. You've watched some good film on him, and he's obviously an elite wide receiver.
Yeah, Jordan Addison won the Blitnikoff last year at Pitt, and he transferred in to USC. This year he has had, you know, I think he missed a couple games with injuries, but, you know, he's still that same slender-bodied, really good route runner. He's athletic. He's good after the catch, believe it or not, you know, being such a small guy. He's going to have the same sort of tendency to be faded by guys because he is oversized. You know, we've seen it with Devontae Smith, but Devontae Smith is a wide receiver one this year.
Absolutely.
You know, we have the same hopes for Jordan Addison. Not quite the, you know, Heisman winning season, but he's good.
Yeah, absolutely. And then with Will Levis, you know, look, if Will Levis gets the top 10 draft capital, like I think he will, I would argue to put him above Addison. Maybe not above JSN, but even I could see, arguing to put Levis extremely high here if he gets that capital. If he gets the team investment, if he goes to the right situation, you know, he's very raw. Obviously, he was on a team last year in UK where, you know, the offensive line wasn't fantastic. The weapons weren't near as good as the year before, so you saw from a production standpoint he actually kind of took a step off. But with Will Levis, I mean, he has got the arm. He is very mobile for his size and for the type of quarterback that he is, being a pocket passer. There's really not a ton to dislike about Will Levis in terms of him being a raw prospect. And then if he ends up getting that capital, going to a team that's going to start him from day one, you could make an argument with the scarcity of QBs in Dynasty right now that Will Levis is a guy that you're going to want to take early in Dynasty rookie drafts next year.
Yeah, we are not NFL scouts. We don't know what we're talking about like these NFL scouts do, but I have a really hard time not seeing the NFL or any of these teams not taking this guy high, like at least top 10. And there are so many tools that this guy has. There are so many situations that he's been placed in Kentucky that are less than ideal.
Yeah, absolutely.
to say the least. And with the success of these types of quarterbacks and prospects of recent, like the Herberts, like the Mahomes, like the Allens, that really have a lot of similar tools as Levis, I think some NFL teams are going to bite.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, looking at, you know, Mel Kiper, who does the draft boards for ESPN, and, you know, he's obviously not our favorite in terms of accuracy.
He has him going third.
But he does kind of hear the buzz of NFL teams. He's been around in the business long enough to hear. Will Levis is the number 3 prospect. He is the first quarterback on his big board. So that must say something about what NFL teams are thinking about Will Levis. Is again, you are going to be hard pressed to convince me not to move him way up if he gets that capital. So, all right, Quentin Johnson. Hit on Quentin Johnson real quick. I mean, obviously, extremely talented wide receiver out of TCU, but getting in this tier with Addison, getting in this tier, we put obviously JSN a tier ahead, but Quentin Johnson, he's obviously impressed this year at TCU. He's looking to kind of translate that into the NFL. So
yeah, if Quentin Johnson gets faded this year because he came from TCU, like Jalen Reagor, I'm smash buying him everywhere.
He is no Jalen Reagor.
He's no Jalen Reagor. Just because he plays for TCU doesn't mean he's not a good prospect.
Yeah.
He isn't producing in terms of quantity at a super high level like some of these other prospects, but his efficiency is insane. He's a deep threat, 17 yards per reception, 53 targets, 903 receiving yards, and 5 touchdowns with a target share of just over 20%.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's when you watch him, Simon, I'd like to hear what your comps are here for him, but I mean, he's got the vertical threat. He's got the route running. His elusiveness in his routes and even after the catch is scary. Like he'll sit people down, and he's a big dude. Like you don't see that combination very often.
Yeah, we compared him. Nathan and I compared him to Mike Williams when his his ability to win, high point a ball on a contested catch. He's eerily similar to DeAndre Hopkins after the catch. He's nowhere near the same route running level, but there's a lot of good things I see in him. But the one thing that has started to worry me more as I've dug into his film is he has a tendency to body catch instead of catch with his hands. And we've seen in the past some Big 12 receivers get really hyped up and then come into the NFL and just not be able to adjust to the level of competition. But Quentin Johnston is still someone I absolutely believe in. So if he starts getting faded because of TCU, because of the Big 12, I'm not buying that.
Yeah, and the reason we have him as the third of these top 3 receivers that we're looking at behind JSN and Addison is I think we would all agree that Addison and JSN have a higher floor than Quentin Johnson does.
Yeah,
like Quentin Johnson, of all these top 3 receivers, he is most likely to just straight flop.
Yeah, he is. I think that's going to be very landing spot dependent for Quentin Johnson.
But he could also have the highest ceiling.
Exactly. I think, Avery, were you the one who compared him to Christian Watson, where he could be one of those guys who comes out into the NFL and is just putting up these huge plays, and he could really burst onto the scene in a big way.
He is a freak for him to be that athletic. I mean, even though, not crazy athletic, but athletic enough at 6'4", 200 pounds. Like, he is a unicorn in terms of his size. And
I think he's more of a project, too.
Yeah,
I just do. I think
that's why the landing spot is going to be important.
Yeah.
So, great tier, guys. There. Moving on to the next tier. Yes, you did just see Zach Charbonnet pop up in our tier C. So we got 3 guys here. First of all, Sean Tucker. Sean Tucker, depending on how the draft capital shakes out, we like Sean Tucker enough to where we would move him above Gibbs if for some reason he jumped him in draft capital. But for now, given that he's getting first round buzz, Gibbs is, we have to keep Tucker as the RB3. Now, this is actually even still kind of a hot take because we're putting Zach Evans below Sean Tucker here. Sean Tucker, we think he looks, he's literally a track athlete on the field. With the amount of explosiveness that he's going to bring to a team, paired with the receiving capability, the size, he does tend to remind you a little bit of an Austin Eckler. Now, whether or not he turns out to be Austin Eckler is very, very yet to be seen, and that is no guarantee. But in terms of when you watch how he's been used and how he could be used in the NFL, given how he checks out, with measurables and things like that, there's not a lot to hate about Sean Tucker at all.
You know that he's on the Syracuse track and field team, right?
Yeah, that's why.
Okay. I wasn't sure. So yeah,
he's a track athlete.
He's going to run a very fast 40, and so that's something we would like to see in the running backs. He has a BMI right at 30, so he checks that box too. He has the really good college production. And so now, really, if he gets the draft capital, we are going to be really high on him because he also has a receiving upside.
Zach Evans.
Zach Evans is just as good of a prospect right now, at least before the combine, as Sean Tucker.
Yep.
I think this is definitely a toss-up. This is up to you. We just prefer Sean Tucker over Zach Evans.
Same tier.
Zach Evans transferred from TCU to Ole Miss, and he found some success at Ole Miss. 136 rushing attempts, 899 yards. The receiving upside was a bit of a concern. Really, the question here is, how much did they even target him or use him in the passing game. Maybe he has some hidden talent that we don't know, but I think that is a concern that you will be looking at for Zach Evans. If he's going to find success in the NFL, it's probably going to be on the ground as a traditional running back. I wouldn't bet on him being some elite PPR back.
Yeah, and you know, also I think something that, you know, I love Zach Evans' game, and his film pops off the screen when I
He's
watch
small too.
when I watched it, but he's kind of small, and with him not being a super, you know, elite PPR back in terms of getting a ton of receptions out of the backfield, like somebody like Jahmyr Gibbs who has the size, but he's got the receiving capability. Zach Evans kind of scares me in Dynasty in terms of, since there are two other running backs here in this tier that I love, and Zach Evans, who we're putting here because, you know, he's obviously a great player and he's going to be drafted in the NFL at a fairly high level given, you know, the context for running backs. He does scare me compared to these other two guys in this tier. But, you know, with that being said, we're not professional NFL scouts, and crazier things have happened. That's just kind of my thoughts on Zach Evans. So, and then Zach Charbonnet. I will man this one up because I love Zach Charbonnet. I liked Zach Charbonnet last year, watching his film, kind of preparing for him to come out last year, which he would have been probably the RB3 in last year's class. I mean, given that, you know, the RB3 really ended up being a Dameon Pierce, and I think Charbonnet, I think he has Dameon Pierce beat by quite a bit. In terms of draft capital, probably comparable. I think that he's going to be probably a third or fourth round selection. That's at least the way it's looking now. But when we're watching Zach Charbonnet, you know, he's got the size to be a workhorse back. You know, the breakaway speed, some people say that's an option. I think he's definitely fast enough, especially for how big he is. I like his moveset too. You know, I think his elusiveness, while that's something people have kind of dogged on, I watch him and he does make tacklers miss. Like, and while I think that, you know, there are some concerns among the Dynasty community, look at his production. I mean, he has also at that size been able to produce at a receiving level at a very high rate. And you've kind of got his individual stats here if you want to read them all for us. But
yeah, so this past year, 2022, 195 rush attempts for 1,359 yards.
That's good, by the way.
That is good.
Yeah.
Do that mental math. 37 receptions for 321 receiving yards. He's going to be 22 years old going into next season. That's a respectable age. I'm not fading him for it at all.
He's young enough.
Yeah, he still is young enough.
And even last year, he broke out, so he would have been 20 at UCLA. You know, already, you know, young running back. He was a 4-star recruit in high school. He's producing as a 20-year-old. As a junior, he put up 1,000 yards last year. Already had the receiving upside, and honestly, he checks all the boxes. The one thing with him is he seems to be more of the one cut and run guy. Instead of just, you know, super elusive. And we're seeing more and more in the NFL guys who can combine their power and their elusivity.
Wow.
Yeah,
nice.
I'm surprised I didn't get tripped up on that.
Yeah,
Anyways, we all really like Zach Charbonnet.
Yeah, the only reason he hasn't come to the NFL sooner is because of that. Looks like an injury he suffered in 2020, and then he made that transfer to UCLA, and he just stayed an extra year, and he's just upped his production and efficiency.
Yeah.
So there's not much to...
I wouldn't worry about him transferring from Michigan. People are like, oh, he couldn't even play over Blake Corum.
Kenneth Walker transferred from Wake Forest to the Big Ten and was successful there. So
yeah, I don't think that's related.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's transferred,
but he transferred to a harder conference.
Yeah. Okay, fine. But UCLA,
again, as 2 years ago, I wouldn't worry about it. We believe in his skill set individually. So, all right, and then moving into our last tier in this rankings video, we have to put Anthony Richardson in here because he did also make an appearance on the big board from Mel Kiper. So that means NFL teams must be talking about him at some level. You know, with his with his rushing upside. You have to include him in the top 12 of your rookie rankings just for that. I mean, because if he does end up being anything, I mean, the rushing upside is going to really carry him over the top of some of his counterparts here in the rookie QB class. But you know, with Anthony Richardson, I don't know what you guys see in Anthony Richardson. I do not like his tape at all. I mean, and look, some guys are just project guys. Some guys just don't have college tape. But with Anthony Richardson, I think he has a fine arm. I think there are a lot of intangibles that he really falls short on, and you know, I do think he's gonna. I think he's probably gonna get respectable draft capital here, but just long term, not somebody that I'm super high on. I'm wanting to go with here. What do you guys think on Anthony Richardson? Anything else to add?
I mean, he has a career completion percentage of just over 50%.
Yeah,
in college. So
if anything, you could categorize him as a huge project. Like,
if it's even possible to have a more underdeveloped quarterback than Trey Lance, Anthony Richardson would be that guy.
Yeah,
and Trey Lance has done nothing to prove anything yet because he hasn't been on the field. But the one thing that AR has going for him, obviously, like we all said, he's super athletic. And I think of all the quarterbacks in this class, when I watched his film, some of the throws he makes are truly eye-popping.
Yes.
It's like, what the heck? Like the way he throws it, the whip he has on the ball, and just some of the athletic plays he made are amazing. I could see him being a guy that people aren't willing to take a swing on in the first round, and they go grab him in the second. I kind of want to know what you guys think about this real quick because we have time. But there are, how many offenses, respectable offenses, run like a six-back offense this year? Like 6, probably. The Bills, the Eagles, the Ravens, the Cardinals, and the Bears are probably those top 5 teams that have quarterbacks that rush, that run at a high level.
Did you say the Eagles?
Yeah, the Eagles.
Yeah, he said the Eagles.
Sorry.
Yeah, they all have rushing quarterbacks, and you just see guys like Lamar and Kyler going down, Fields getting injured for a game, and then Hurts just getting injured now,
and Josh Allen getting beat up.
I could see Anthony Richardson being sort of an insurance plan for one of those teams where they aren't drafting him expecting him to replace any of those guys.
And he's just a stash.
But once one of them goes down, you can kind of theoretically bring AR in and just kind of pick up where you left off. With he'll obviously be less talented than those players, but he has that athletic upside. You can keep the same style of offense going and not have to make drastic changes. So I could see that being a possibility as well with him, and that obviously would majorly affect his dynasty value.
All right, you guys are the Marvin Mims fan club, so I'll let you guys kind of take the lead on this one.
Avery, you're going to join the fan club soon. Marvin Mims, maybe it's the Oklahoma jersey, reminds me of Hollywood Brown. Really similar build, really similar play style. Believe it or not, he has 19.3 yards per reception, so he's just absolutely dominating out there. Absolutely a huge deep threat. He broke out at 18 years old already with 600 yards, Big 12, so, some people would say who cares, but, last year he improved 700 yards, and then this year he's topped 1,000. So honestly, he's been consistent. He broke out early, and that's something we absolutely like to see. Really, all I'm waiting for is the draft capital. So, yeah. And Nathan, you were just watching his film the other day, and what popped out to you?
It was his blocking in the passing game and the running game. Really, he is one of the knocks that you can have on some receivers that go even high in the draft, kind of like Drake London that we talked about last season. But their blocking ability is less than ideal, and that can be a really important part in keeping a receiver on the field for respectable snap share and eventually getting opportunity in the passing game. With Mims, I don't know if I've seen a receiver yet in this class that is as impressive of like a team player where every play he's involved and every play where he doesn't get the ball, he knows where the ball is. And I mean, on a dime, he is going and he is hunting someone down. And he doesn't have like that highlight ability to just sit someone down when he's blocking them. But he's a smart guy. He blocks the right person and he'll keep them engaged and he gets the job done. So loved seeing what he could do in like the screen passing game also. Like they would intentionally put the guy right behind him and he'd open up that lane for the runner to get a first down. So yeah, like to see that.
And the last guy here in our rankings, we went ahead and threw in a 13th here, is going to be Josh Downs out of North Carolina.
14th.
So, really? Did I miss a guy?
Yeah.
Either way, Josh Downs is going to be our last guy. This is a guy that was really highly thought of last year. Thought he'd be going a little bit higher than this probably last year, and then he didn't stay healthy all season. He I guess you could argue that he underperformed this year at North Carolina, but really you've seen a little bit of a slide for him. He's been jumped by a couple guys up here that weren't necessarily thought of, but thoughts on Josh Downs, why you wanted to put him behind Mims. Obviously, they're in the same tier, but kind of on what he's done this year. I mean, obviously the target share this year is still impressive. For him to be able to play in 11 games and do what he did, I think is dud. Do what he did. I think that
could be a dud.
I think that's fairly impressive, but give me your breakdown on Josh
Jones.
Downs.
I'd be interested to look. I haven't actually looked into it yet on the difference between the yards per team, pass attempts between the two of them, because that's just one of those advanced metrics that kind of talks about and really goes into depth about how dominant they are in their own offense. Because if a guy's demanding the ball and he's really producing, then you love to see that for the NFL. But Josh Downs really similarly broke out last year. He was 20 years old. He put up 1,300 yards. This year, 1,000 again. Just really the reason I've given Mims the edge is just the early breakout, and I really prefer his route tree. I've seen Josh Downs take a lot of screens, a lot of shorter passes, until Drake May really started targeting further downfield this year. But it was just enough for me to give Marvin Mims the edge. But of course, there's a lot of time to go, a lot more film to watch, and then combine to come. So.
Yeah, with the draft coming and the combine coming, there's going to be a lot of moving parts in these tiers and these rankings. I think mainly at the quarterback and running back position. I mean, I could see a guy like Zach Evans going up significantly or turning into this year's Isaiah Spiller and not getting the draft capital, and that really just hurts his value. Yeah. So we'll see what happens.
Again, deep class, very talented class this year, so we're going to keep you updated with all the coverage. We obviously had a video come out about Jahmyr Gibbs. You've been seeing where they've been going in our Stoddart mock draft, so check those out too. But these rankings, subject to change, like Nathan said, a lot can change. A lot's going to change after the combine too. You're going to know a lot more, and then obviously this is going to change after the draft. So it'll be really interesting to revisit this, even in a year after they've played, most of their rookie season. Like, okay, how did these guys end up sorting themselves out compared to where the dynasty community was viewing them at, even just before they came into the NFL. So again, loaded class. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We'll give you all of the content we can on this loaded 23 class to help you make the right picks for your dynasty team. It's obviously the dynasty season as we get into the off season, so we're going to have all kinds of dynasty content for you. So subscribing helps with that. Make sure you like the video. And as always, thanks for watching. We'll see you later.